Madonna. Superstar Madonna has been in the game since the 80s and established plenty of enduring relationships with other entertainers who've come before and after her. But that doesn't mean she hasn't had her moments where she's thrown someone the cold shoulder. In this case, Jennifer Lopez definitely deserved it because she dissed Madonna's whole career in that infamous Movieline interview in 1998. Lopez was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. It was then that she decided to boast about her own talent in comparison to Madonna. Quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No." She also added, quote, "Acting is what I do. So I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." Those comments were pretty bad considering that Madonna has been a star for a lot longer than J-Lo, and at the time of the interview, there was almost no comparison between them. It seems like Madonna held on to those remarks for quite some time, because in 2009, she went on David Letterman and implied that Lopez tries to copy her by studying her looks on stage. Gwyneth Paltrow. At the time, Lopez was still fresh off the success of Selena and Anaconda, and she was explaining how she felt she was grouped into what she called the bottom of the A-list actresses. Paltrow was a star on the rise at the time, with many films under her belt such as Seven, Great Expectations, and Shakespeare in Love, which earned her a Best Actress Oscar in 1999. When Lopez was asked about Paltrow, she almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in? I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work. If you have the goods, there's nothing to be afraid of. If somebody doesn't have the goods, they're insecure. I don't have that problem." Although Paltrow took the high road and never publicly criticized the star, when J-Lo started dating her ex-boyfriend Ben Affleck, she was reportedly very upset about the pairing and said that she didn't think Jennifer is right for him. It's easy to see why she felt that way. Scott Barnes. If you want to see just how long Lopez can hold a grudge, just ask celebrity makeup artist Scott Barnes, who's worked for her for the past 20 years. It's important to note that not all of J-Lo's feuds and shade throwing has been directed towards the rich and famous. The star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist Scott Barnes after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Mark Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, Barnes revealed that the woman he considered a friend cast him aside for an entire year until it was confirmed that someone else was responsible for the leak. Quote, "It was like I had the plague." Interestingly enough, J-Lo did end up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless, which sounds exactly like something she would do. The celebrity makeup artist, who's also lent his talents to Hollywood stars including Gwyneth Paltrow, added, quote, "I went right back to work with her, and we just never spoke about it again, which is even weirder." The funny thing is, Barnes would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remained on good terms, despite the fact that she ghosted him. He wasn't even guilty of the leak, but she cut him out of her life for a whole year. Talk about insanity. Salma Haye. In that same interview from 1998, Lopez did not enjoy being compared to Salma Haye. Quote, "We're in two different realms. She's a sexy bombshell, and those are the kinds of roles that she does. I do all kinds of different things." And as if trashing her career wasn't enough, the supremely confident Lopez also claimed that Haye had been telling a few lies about the fact that she had been offered the lead role of Selena, the 1997 film based on the life of slain Texas-born superstar Selena Quintanilla. She went on to say, quote, "It makes me laugh when she says she got offered Selena, which is an outright lie. If that's what she does to get herself publicity, then that's her thing." The comments were incredibly rude and ignorant of J-Lo, even though she claimed they were taken out of context in an interview that she did a few years later. But in 2020, Salma Hayek opened up to Andy Cohen on Watch What Happens Live, saying that in the 90s she was offered the role of Selena before Jennifer Lopez, but she turned it down. Quote, "They offered it to me like a week after she died. It was a little distasteful. They were already planning on making this movie." So it goes to show you how gracious Salma Hayek is because she wanted to be respectful to Selena's passing. Ashanti. While Jennifer Lopez has landed herself several platinum-selling hits since her rise to fame with her debut album, she is no stranger to causing controversy regarding how she ends up getting her songs. While Ashanti has never openly admitted to sharing a feud with Jennifer Lopez, the R&B songstress has certainly hinted that she was often overlooked because of the success. Aside from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for her song Loverboy in the same year, Lopez was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which left Ashanti feeling irritated given that she had just landed her first taste of success in the music industry around that same time. Then in September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real, lifted from her second studio album with Gotti, but he eventually handed the track over to Lopez even though the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Ashanti said, quote, "It felt bittersweet because I was really excited because it was with J-Lo, you know what I mean? But I was so mad at Irv because I was like, you know I wanted that record." The whole situation between the two stars always seems bizarre and unfair, and many people believe that J-Lo outright stole Ashanti's vocals and passed them off as her own. Usher. J-Lo and Usher had a pretty big feud in 2005 over alleged music theft. The star had been accused of stealing or borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years, and Usher had something to say about this. He claimed that his R&B rival stole a song that he cast aside while recording the hugely successful album Confessions. Usher said that J-Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote last year, which was only available online. When asked about the whole ordeal, the then 26-year-old said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." In fact, this whole situation was partly due to producer Rich Harrison, who co-wrote the track with Usher and later decided to use it during recording sessions for J-Lo's upcoming album Rebirth, using the exact same vocal pattern. So J-Lo's song Get Right is actually a reworking of a beat Usher had created for his own album. When he scrapped his song Ride, parts of it made it into Jennifer's track and created one of the biggest dance floor hits ever. At least Usher was vocal about it, and as a result chose not to work with J-Lo for several years following. Howard Stern. The controversial radio host Howard Stern is J-Lo's biggest critic and just doesn't understand her appeal. He said so himself on his super popular radio show. Not only isn't he a fan of her music, but Stern has publicly claimed that Jennifer's been rude to him on multiple occasions, despite his friendship with people close to her, saying that he does not respect her stuck-up attitude. One of the main reasons why Lopez will never go on the Howard Stern show is because he has attacked everything from her career choices to her appearance. Both were judges on America's Got Talent at the same time, and in a red carpet interview with HLN in 2012, he said that Jennifer Lopez was more interested in promoting her career than being a proper judge. Quote, "It helped her career. She got very far. She suddenly got back on the charts and the show was good for her, and it became more about J-Lo." In 2016, Howard compared J-Lo's music to that of a homeless woman who sang a nonsensical song, and as a prank, Howard's staff took the song to pedestrians on the street and tried to pass it off as her latest hit. One of the harshest things he's ever said though was during an interview with J-Lo's ex P. Diddy, where he slammed her looks by claiming that Diddy got out at the right time due to her aging. Eva Mendes. There was a time where Eva Mendes and J-Lo comparisons were inevitable. Similar to Lopez, Eva's career began in the 90s. She started out featuring in music videos with stars like Will Smith, Aerosmith, and Pet Shop Boys. They were both Latina actors making waves in the entertainment industry in the 2000s. They've both dated A-listers and starred in big budget blockbusters, delivering standout performances that stole the show. However, when these similarities were brought to Eva's attention, the actress was very offended at the idea and felt that it was insulting to be compared to Lopez at all. In fact, Eva even felt that her approach to acting was more serious than Lopez's in a major way, and added that JLo manages her career like a business as opposed to caring about her art. Quote, "I would like to think I will have a more serious career than JLo. We may be both of Latin origin, but that's where the comparisons stop. She manages her career like the head of a big corporation, whereas the only thing I care about is becoming the best actress possible." While Mendes has made it clear that she never respected JLo's career, at least her comments don't sound too personal and were probably made because she was just sick and tired of constantly being compared to the other Latina actress.
First and foremost, Hilarie Burton. Back in 2008, Hilarie Burton, an actress in Lethal Weapon, had been a co-host for MTV's Total Request Live. The show was a daily music video countdown that ran for 10 years. On the show, she would interview various celebrities and ask them their opinions on music and catch up with their lives and stuff. Very casual hangout style interviews. Anyways, in an incident that was caught on video, Ben behaved extremely inappropriately towards Hilarie. He grabbed her non-consensually and groped her. The video resurfaced in 2017 at the height of the Me Too movement, when one Twitter user posted, quote, "Affleck also grabbed Hilarie Burton's breasts on TRL once. Everyone forgot though." The tweet got enough attention that Hilarie herself saw it and replied, quote, "I didn't forget." In a later tweet, she recalled, quote, "I had to laugh back then so I wouldn't cry." She then thanked the user who posted the video and brought up the encounter. Quote, "Seriously, thank you for that. I was a kid." I guess she had felt that her situation with Ben was pretty much swept under the rug, which is pretty right, honestly. I had no idea about this story at all until 2017, and let's just say that Ben's apology left quite a bit to the imagination. He tweeted out, quote, "I acted inappropriately towards Miss Burton and I sincerely apologize." And that's it. I know when it comes to cases like this, people love to default to, oh, well, it was a long time ago. While I can see that just maybe being a proper excuse for certain situations, what is absolutely inexcusable is how one decides to address it. Ben's apology missed the mark, and when you do regret a situation, rectifying it is the only way to ethically right it. I'm not sure if anything went on behind closed doors between the two in the ways of an apology, but either way, as far as the public is concerned, not cool, Ben. Let's get into my second point, and what I would say is kind of a pivot from what the title of this video is, Ben as a person and the paparazzi. I mean, if we're being candid here, yeah, Ben has issues. That's obvious, anyone can see it. But honestly, all of these issues, while not excuses, can be explained by his very clear depression and deep mental health issues. A lot of people's grievances with him can be traced back to his dumb youth. He was cocky and full of attitude after coming off of the success of Good Will Hunting. When he began dating Jennifer Lopez, one of the biggest stars in the world at that time, the media frenzy that resulted completely violated their privacy. Suddenly, everyone was taking photos of the couple in intimate situations, and stalking was so heavily normalized that we still see the effects of lecherous paparazzi activities to this day. That all started from their relationship. If you couple that with a string of mediocre movies, people just started to hate Ben Affleck. There was a bit he did with a Quebecois interviewer where he was being overly flirtatious with her. They had agreed to do it to promote a show she was hosting. She even stated that it was all a hoax, but people chose to ignore it in favor of trying to find a valid reason to hate on him, besides him being kind of a mediocre actor with serious issues. The actor has been on a decades-long journey of trying to control his substance use issues. His own father battled alcohol and its presence in his life. In 1997, on the heels of rave reviews for Good Will Hunting, Ben decided to quit drinking for the first time. Quote, "I just wanted to stop. I started regretting some things I did when I was drunk. But sadly, it didn't end up working out for him, and Ben would soon revert to his old ways." He'd been in and out of rehab for years, including a stay in 2017 and in 2018. In fact, the 2018 stay was when Jennifer Garner, to whom he was divorced at the time, drove him to the hospital despite them being separated and Ben being with another woman. She's a good person who genuinely saw Ben as a tragic case of both parental pitfalls and environmental stress combining to create bad habits that inadvertently harm those around him. She staged an intervention with Ben, who would sadly suffer another relapse after a year of being sober. When speaking about his relapse, he stated, quote, "My family history. The legacy of that is quite powerful and something that's hard to shake. I think, in turn, a lot of celebrities understand the pressure of the spotlight. To genuinely hate Ben Affleck for reasons other than being kind of a mediocre actor is to vilify those living with addictions and depression. In interviews, he stated that he feels more concerned about what his kids see and how they perceive their own dad rather than what we see as an audience. Our voyeuristic tendencies to look in on his life shouldn't mean anything in the face of making sure that his kids remain happy and know that their father loves them. Quote, "I got to a place where the public perception was so different from who I am that I just stopped reading and stopped caring. But then, as my kids got older and started seeing the internet themselves, that's the difficult part. Even the sad Affleck meme, that was funny to me. I mean, there's nobody who hasn't felt that way in a junket. But when my kids see it and I think, oh, are they going to think that their dad is fundamentally sad or they have to worry about me? That's really rough. And I think, honestly, that's where our attention needs to lie. Ben shouldn't be vilified by people who don't really know who he is, and feeling depressed and anxious should not be seen as him being a bad person because he's not. When he was on the Howard Stern show, his words were once again manipulated to paint the actor in a bad light. Quote, "I had gone on and said how much we respect each other," in terms of him and Jennifer Garner, "and cared about each other, and cared about our kids, and put them first, and went through our stuff. And they said that I blamed my ex-wife for my alcoholism, and that I was trapped in this marriage. Just made me out to be the worst, most insensitive, stupid, awful guy. I don't believe that. It's the exact opposite of who I am and what I believe. And I would never want my kids to think I would ever say a bad word about their mom." Ben so obviously needs help, and Jennifer is still trying to get him that help. And I hope J-Lo is too. He very obviously cares about his family, and if his own ex-wife is still committed to helping him out of the trenches, I don't see why the internet has to butt its head in and make everything worse. The pressure of a divorce is enough to make normal, everyday folks turn to substance use. Couple that with intense media scrutiny and a penchant for mental health issues, and it becomes a recipe for self-destructive disaster. Ben is an extremely eloquent person who himself has spoken about the shame he feels towards causing his divorce. Quote, "I drank relatively normally for a long time. What happened was I started drinking more and more when my marriage was falling apart. This was in 2015, 2016. My drinking, of course, created more marital problems. I feel that there is a genuine fault in Ben for what he did with the interview host, and if you're going to continue to hate him, do so for that. He was in the wrong and his apology was less than adequate. But to reason your negative feelings towards the actor because of the direct influence that unhealthy coping mechanisms have brought onto his life is extremely unfair. Only with love and care will people with substance issues be able to dig themselves out of the hole they've created." Ben himself echoes this sentiment, quote, "It's not particularly healthy for me to obsess over the failures, the relapses, and beat myself up. I've certainly made mistakes. I've certainly done things that I regret. But you've got to pick yourself up, learn from it, learn some more, try to move forward." Celebrities shouldn't have to warn us about Ben Affleck. We know he's going through hard times, and self-destruction often comes at the cost of destroying relationships with others as well. Shame and anger towards someone who's already on their knees is never the right approach. So anyways, guess I got that video in basically the complete opposite direction of what the title is supposed to be, so let's see how that goes.
Number 10, sharing the stage. J-Lo didn't hold back when it came to her opinion on sharing the stage with Shakira at the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In her newly released documentary called Halftime, she labeled it as the worst idea in the world. Quote, "If it was going to be a double headliner, they should have given us 20 minutes. That's what they should have effing done." Basically, it turns out that Jennifer was frustrated with the NFL for booking 2 headliners and making them share the same amount of time that any solo performer would receive, as opposed to doubling it and giving the women extra time to shine. As a result, fans slammed the artist for coming off as entitled. While it's true that they only gave the performers 6 minutes each, the action-packed show garnered immense praise from fans across the globe, with many fans commending the women for showcasing their Latin heritage so brilliantly. What J-Lo was really mad about though is that previous solo headliners like Beyonce and The Weeknd received 14 minutes to perform, but judging by her complaints, it's clear that she feels offended that they asked her to share the stage at all. Number 9, cheating allegations. Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck have had an on-again, off-again romance that has been going on since the 2000s, with fans even nicknaming the couple Benifer. I mean, these two just got married this year, after they first got engaged nearly 2 decades ago, but the timeline of their relationship relationship is a huge red flag and included alleged cheating. So in July of 2002, Lopez filed for divorce from her second husband, Chris Judd, citing irreconcilable differences. But this news broke just months after Lopez had wrapped the movie Geely alongside her then boyfriend Ben. Even though she vehemently denied cheating rumors, Ben took out an ad in The Hollywood Reporter gushing about Lopez before her divorce wasn't yet finalized. In fact, even Chris Judd's father, Larry, spoke out against the couple and accused J-Lo of being unfaithful to his son. He insinuated that the affair started during the filming of Geely. Quote, "I thought Mr. Affleck would honor a married woman and not just go right into the trailer," and added that she'd be happier if she'd just tell the truth and no one in her little circle is going to say one negative thing to her. But we'll never really know the truth of what happened. Number 8. Music theft. The star has been accused of stealing and borrowing background tracks and vocals from other artists for years. One of the stars who accused her of doing this was Usher in 2005. He claimed that she stole a song that he cast aside while recording his hugely successful album called Confessions. Usher claimed that J-Lo's single Get Right is actually a re-recorded version of Ride, a song that he co-wrote the year before, which was only available online. He said, quote, "I hate it, but I'd better get some of the publishing rights or else. I didn't put it on my album because I couldn't get it right, but I didn't expect J-Lo to just take it." And apart from being accused of stealing the same sample song that Mariah Carey used for Loverboy, J-Lo was also given songs that were initially intended for Ashanti, which is why a lot of people claim what happened between the two artists was straight up music theft. In September of 2001, Lopez released I'm Real from her second studio album, J-Lo, that she worked on with Irv Gotti. But the song was already recorded and mixed with Ashanti's vocals, which is why you can still hear her background vocals in Lopez's version. Number 7. Makeup artist feud. Scott Barnes, who worked for J-Lo for the past 20 years, has had to deal with so much of the star's crazy hot and cold behavior. In the mid-2000s, the star essentially banished her longtime makeup artist, Scott Barnes, after rumors surfaced that someone had leaked info to the press about her and Mark Anthony's secret marriage ceremony. Speaking on the Jeff Probst show in 2012, when asked about how J-Lo treated him, he said, quote, "It was like I had the plague." But interestingly enough, eventually she ended up giving Barnes his old job back again after learning the truth, but apparently failed to apologize for being so cold and ruthless towards him. I mean, she literally cut him off without a word and blamed him for the leak without even confronting him. Barnes went on to say, quote, "I went right back to work with her and we just never spoke about it again," which is even weirder. The funny thing is, her celebrity makeup artist would go on to work with her for another 6 years and insisted that they remain on good terms despite the fact that she ghosted him and didn't even apologize for it. Number 6. The Mark Anthony romance. Celebrity gossip magazines could not get enough of the power couple in the early 2000s. They were absolutely everywhere and it seemed like fans loved the pairing. But their beginnings as a couple were super questionable to say the least. Anthony married former Miss Universe Dayanara Torres in 2000, while Lopez was dating Ben Affleck roughly around the same time. But the on-again, off-again couple picked their romance back up while Anthony was still married to Dayanara. So less than a week after Anthony's divorce was finalized, the couple surprised fans by getting married in a small, casual ceremony in her Beverly Hills home in early June. It really begs the question of whether or not J-Lo was some kind of homewrecker, because the timeline of the rekindled relationship seems really off. I mean, he actually broke Dayanara's heart, and she said, quote, "You go through hell. I cried until there were no tears left, until I was numb. I didn't want to eat, I didn't care to get dressed or take a shower, I just wanted to lie there." Anthony's feelings for Jennifer might have been there all along because the two had history, but he should have put way more thought into who he chose to marry in the first place. So in a way, they're both at fault here. Number 5. Insensitive comments. To give you some background on why everyone felt that J-Lo was trashing belly dancing. So a part of the 2020 Super Bowl performance featured young dancers sitting in glowing cages, which many people assume represented the immigrant children in cages at the US border. But she apparently had a hard time convincing the NFL to do this, and said, quote, "I'm trying to give you something with substance, not just us out there shaking our effing asses and effing belly dancing." She went on to say that she wants something real, something that's gonna make a statement, something that's gonna say we belong here and we have something to offer. Now, if you're confused about why that was so controversial, essentially she compared the art of belly dancing to just shaking your butt for the hell of it. In fact, that particular line was shared across Twitter and people were big mad. It was just a little culturally insensitive to say, considering the fact that the dance has long been associated with Middle Eastern cultures, and it's something that Shakira has become known for, using it to channel her father's Lebanese, Syrian, Arab roots. Number 4, avoiding the Bronx. This one, train wreck of an ad campaign, led people to openly mock both Chrysler and Jennifer Lopez. The central premise of the ad was that sometimes J-Lo will drive through her old hood in the South Bronx in a Fiat 500 just to stay inspired. Although it sounds ridiculous, the marketing campaign obviously tried to draw on the singer's famous Jenny from the Block era. Most people recognize the song in which she pays tribute to growing up in the Bronx, which had been a solid part of her image since the 90s. In fact, the singer even titled her debut album On the 6, which is a clear reference to the New York subway train. A press release at the time even stated that she would be traveling through the streets of Manhattan to the Bronx where she grew up. But the ad backfired when the Smoking Gun reported that Lopez never actually went to the Bronx to film the ad and that a body double stand-in was used instead, calling it, quote, "such a breathtaking assemblage of urban cliches," and that was putting it lightly. Number 3, the Movieline interview. The infamous Movieline interview in 1998 that could have almost ruined J-Lo's career was truly worse than you can imagine. She was 27 at the time and fresh off the success of her film Selena. She basically decided to trash all the other celebrities that were big at the time and tried to trivialize their career and contribution to the industry. In fact, when asked about Madonna, she actually said, quote, "Do I think she's a great performer? Yeah. Do I think she's a great actress? No. Acting is what I do, so I'm harder on people when they say, oh, I can do that, I can act. And I'm like, hey, don't spit on my craft." It was so ironic because J-Lo would go on to do both music and acting for the rest of her career, and critics also trashed her acting on the big screen. Also, at the time, Madonna had been a star for a lot longer than J-Lo, so there was no real comparison there. And when Gwyneth Paltrow was brought up, Jennifer almost seemed to laugh and made it clear that she didn't take her fellow actress's career seriously. Quote, "Tell me what she's been in. I swear to God, I don't remember anything she was in. Some people get hot by association. I heard more about her and Brad Pitt than I ever heard about her work." Yikes. Number 2, accusations of racism. 20 years ago, Lopez was approaching full actualization as an entertainer, but a single from her second album, J-Lo, almost derailed her career entirely. The Murder Inc. remix of I'm Real, which features Ja Rule and Own Radio in 2001, was ruined by the N-bomb that she drops in her final verse. The issue was that the song was an instant hit, so much so that 10 years later, in 2011, Billboard gave it the 6th spot on its 40 biggest duets of all time list. But rightfully so, people were outraged by her use of the loaded term, not only because she's a Latina artist, but at her level of success, where she has a platform and sets an example to young fans, using such a derogatory word is at best offensive. But as the accusations of racism started to mount against the star, she eventually spoke out to defend her actions on the Today Show. Quote, "For anyone who thinks or suggests that I'm racist is really absurd and hateful to me." Although many people think this is not an excuse, it was later revealed that the track was actually written by Ja Rule himself, and apparently he encouraged her to say it. And number 1, fired a maid. This one is really indefensible. Jennifer Lopez allegedly got a German hotel maid fired for asking for an autograph. Fredo Daj was a staff member at the luxury Melia Hotel in Dusseldorf, Germany, during Lopez's stay in 2012. She was a big fan of J-Lo and worked up the courage to knock on the star's hotel door in Dusseldorf to ask for an autograph, and was promptly turned away. Frey claims that she was relieved from her post the day after the incident. She told The Sun, quote, "I am an incredibly big fan, so I took all my courage and rang the doorbell to get an autograph. but I was rejected by 2 assistants at the door. A day later, the cleaning company that employed me at the hotel called and said that Miss Lopez had complained. I was fired right there on the phone. If the incident really happened, it's hard to ignore the irony when you remember that Jennifer played a hotel maid in the movie Maid in Manhattan. After receiving a rightful amount of backlash, the pop star wrote on Twitter, quote, "Come on, thought you knew me better than this, would never get anyone fired over an autograph. First I heard of this was on Twitter, #hurtful.